Voting Theory Class 4 Video 2. In this video we're going to talk about another famous voting system. This time we're going to talk about the agenda voting system. So let's begin with the definition. So, an agenda voting system is where the alternatives compete in a series of head-to-head elections to determine the winner. Okay? And the particular order in which they compete is called the agenda. So, in an agenda voting system, you sort of have a series of head-to-head runoffs between the alternatives, and it's like winner stays in. And then whoever makes it through the last round is the winner. So you should think about agenda voting systems sort of like the bracket system for competitions in sports. Okay, let's just do some examples. So, what's an example of a possible agenda? Well, if you have three alternatives, then a possible agenda could be something like this. Okay, so what this means is A and B compete in a head-to-head election, and then the winner goes forward. So let's just hypothetically say A wins between A and B. C doesn't have to compete with anyone. C automatically goes forward. And then A and C compete for the winner, and let's say that like C wins. Okay, like this. So what does how do you write this down? You'd write this down as C beats A beats B. Okay, so this is a possible agenda. Another possible agenda could be something like A, B, C, D. Something like this. So in this case, A and B go head to head, maybe B wins, C and D go head to head, maybe D wins, and then maybe B wins overall. This is a possible agenda. And the way you would write this down is you would say something like B beats D, and then you can't really talk about third, fourth, fifth place with agendas. So what you do is you just say all the other alternatives are equally last place. So you do this idea. You have first place, second place, everything else. Okay? That's all you can say with an agenda. First place, second place, everyone else. So another possible agenda could be something like this. Okay? This is a possible agenda as well. So let's just hypothetically say A wins, C automatically goes forward, A wins, D automatically goes forward, and then D wins. So the social ranking in this case would be D beats A, and then everyone else. So first place, second place, everyone else. Okay? This is how agendas work abstractly. Let's do an actual concrete example now. So here's the example. Calculate the social ranking under the following agendas. So I've written down 3 agendas, and I want to do all 3 of them. So I want to calculate the social ranking under these agendas. Let's start with the first one. Seems sensible. Let's start with the first agenda. So I want to know what happens when A goes head-to-head against B. So I'm going to write this separately. What happens when I have A versus B? Well, how many points does A get? Now you have to imagine that there is just A and B in the election. So that means I eliminate C, like this. So if I eliminate C like this, how many points would A get? Well, they'd get 5 from here, plus 2, plus these go to B, these go to B, but these 5 now go to A, plus another 5, which is 12. And B would get, so these are A, these go to A, but B gets 3 plus 6 plus this 1. So that's 10. So in a head-to-head election between A and B, A wins. Okay? So that means that A goes forward, C automatically goes forward, So now to work out who wins this agenda, I need to know who would win in a head-to-head election between A versus C. So let's erase all of these red marks I drew. Now I'm considering A versus C, so that means I eliminate B. Okay. A would get 5 plus 2 plus 3 which is 10. And C would get, how many would C get? So C would get 6 plus 5 plus 1. Which is 12. So C wins. Okay. Which means C is the winner. So you can do it there or you can do it there. I'll probably just do it here. So C is the winner. And in this case, the social ranking is going to be C beats A beats B. Okay? Easy enough. When you're trying to work out who wins in these head-to-head elections, if you want, you can redraw the voting profile after you cross out one of the alternatives. But if you get good at it, you can start to not need to redraw it every time. Like in this case, I didn't redraw it after I eliminated B. But if you find that difficult to follow, it's probably best if you redraw it. Okay, so let's move on to the second agenda. Let's move on to this agenda. Okay. So in a head-to-head runoff between A and C, we already know that C wins. Right? In a head-to-head runoff between A and C, we've just worked out that C wins. So that means I put C there, B goes through. Now I need to consider who would win in a head-to-head runoff between A and C. Between B and C. I haven't already calculated that, so I need to calculate that now. So let's calculate that now. B versus C. Who would win? So if I'm doing B versus C, that means I eliminate A. Okay. So how many points does B get? Well, B is going to get 5 plus 3 plus 6. Which is equal to 14. And C is going to get 2 plus 5 plus 1, which is equal to 8. So this means that B wins. Okay? So in a head-to-head runoff between B and C, B wins. Which means if I go back to my second agenda, head-to-head runoff between B and C, B wins. So the social ranking under this particular agenda would be B beats C beats A. Let's go on to the last one, okay? This agenda down here. So in a head-to-head runoff between B and C, I just worked out right here that B wins. So I don't need to do any new calculations. A goes through automatically. In a head-to-head runoff between A and B, I worked out right at the beginning that A wins. So I don't need to do any new calculations. I know that A wins. So the social ranking will be A, B, C. Okay? So this example really highlights something which is very, very important when it comes to agenda voting, and that's that the agenda matters. Exactly the layout, the particular agenda you choose is very important. I mean, if you think about it, depending on which one I choose, I can make C win, or B win, or A win. I can make any one I want win just by choosing how the order in which they go head to head. Okay? This isn't always true for every particular election. Some elections, it doesn't matter the order. But sometimes, like in this particular case, by choosing the agenda, by choosing the order in which the alternatives go head to head, I can dictate who wins. So whoever gets to choose the agenda has a lot of power in determining the outcome of the election. So one last thing I want to talk about is the idea of a neutral voting system. Okay, so it's a new definition. So you say that a voting system is called neutral if none of the alternatives are given any special advantage over any of the other alternatives. Okay, so this is something which seems reasonable to ask for. In a voting system, you don't want it that one particular alternative has a special advantage over any other alternatives. Okay, well, maybe you do want that, I don't know. But it's got its own name, it's called neutral. Neutral is the property that none of the alternatives have a special advantage over any of the other alternatives. Well, unsurprisingly, the agenda voting system is not neutral. Okay, and one way you can see this is I can just make a sort of agenda like this. Okay. And you can see that this is not neutral, because if for A to win the whole election, A must win 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 head-to-heads. But for F to win, F must win 1 head-to-head. Right? For A to win, A has a long path to victory, but F jumps straight to the final round without having to do any sort of lesser rounds. Okay, so this gives F a sort of advantage over A, which means that this agenda, the agenda voting system, is not neutral. Okay, we'll talk more about this notion of neutral and how fair voting systems are in later videos, but that's the end of this video.